nhớ trong của lúc bây hoa cái những yang nếu nói inu chỉ sinh của tao chú của tụi phong dương là nó chỉ thằng mình chỉ chú hạt ta nhớ cho Saint Paul hay Minneapolis Minnesota bây ta chỉ nó mua cái nhớ sang tao dạng hình vì hạt ta President Trump tao sang cho ICE agents to lụa cho bây giờ cho mua kiện chú sa cũng tao dạng hình bây giờ mấy giờ sáng cho mấy chỉ bảo ta họ chơi nhà lấy chàng nó bây giờ là nó sáng chỉ thả mình chỉ cho mấy nó hạt ta giờ lấy chàng ta bây giờ sáng hình hạt ta nhớ hú cho social media Facebook ha Instagram bây giờ tôi luôn giải lo cho nãy chỉ cứ tin này trang cho lên cho tu tao tự số nên tao lu chỉ nhà ha chỉ sáng bu cho ICE agent lu ở page cho cho bé sinh cho lấy trong tù chỉ ở Hmong sư, giờ bé cho cái tin này trang nhớ cho Somali là cho Latine là lì hải tôi này nhớ cho Minnesota, bé như trong xã hội ta xuất là như ở cộng số luôn hay là nó ha ta chỉ có chỉ chú ý cho ta chỉ tao mua social media là giờ chỉ bảo trên nói cái nếu nó bé sáng luôn hả bé lu tự ta bé bù lấy chàng tụ nó nhớ là cuộc sáng xưa huân Joua Lee nó là nhiều ít tụ independent documentary filmmaker là giờ tụ cứ thay lúa ở khâu tên đó giờ hồi tụ nhớ ta sao ta nói cái giờ hùa cán số vàng nhiều ít tụ thấy cho nhớ cho hùa bé giờ tao nên gọi bé cho show là nó là nửa ha cú nhớ cho ít lúc còn học hùa Southeast Asian Freedom Network and lúc còn học là nói kia nơi sai cho tôi này cứ tôi cho khám miễn tế tôi làm tế nhà làm tế tôi cho mấy cái tế là nó cú sáng chú ở tôi ở lên thằng mình vì đó tôi bao đầu nhà hẹn chú khó situation là nó bây giờ sử dụng mong ha luôn mấy cái vì ta bây sáng của bây giờ lúa nó ha chú bây sĩ thằng ha bố bao đầu nhà hay của bố giờ bây post nó là của bố post gì hay à mấy nó là hạt ta chỉ lu có领导了，如果一领导就是个被to President Trump 那么样，你莫路啦，被路啦，Minnesota 还ta被那莫 fraud，还ta被那有个是不对呀，รัฐบาล我之中。bố nên là cái cho Somali đó nên là cái cho biết từ governor Tim Walz nó mà giờ chỉ bố sĩ chế đợi bố cho nó chỉ là họ chỉ bố cho lại sang cho ICE agent tua ý mà giờ fraud giờ all này mà cú sang ta thâu mà Tim Walz như tòn cho Kamala Harris run for president hay chỉ để ra từ President Trump đó nó như chỉ nhà hắn du biết từ governor gì bố giờ cái lưu sĩ thứ chỉ tao đó là có bố cho lạiตัวสิเชเกจะน้อยเกเป้จะคือปตัวเจ้าอย่าปตัวเจ้าชาโอก็ไปรู้เจรู้จอหนึ่งโมเกนสุชากูเนอะน้อยเกขน้อยละกูสาแต่ลูกเขาป้าน่ะจะเม่นเชงกูจริงๆนะยังแต่เม่แต่เชื่อกูสามาขน้อยลูกเขาป้าหาอย่าวิริการไปสัตว์ตัวจูแต่ชิโนยถ้าตัวจูเกจีแต่มนชาจะต้นเหตุเกิดเลยเกิดพวกหาจะเกิดพวกสันติเทนฮะดิพวกพวกเจริญชาตื่นลูกเขาtới lang tới lu là bây giờ chỉ đang cho ta mấyตัวรู้ได้แค่ตัวไม่อยู่เขาตัวไม่ไปยังสังสรรค์ไม่แก่ไม่เต้นดาวเดินลงเลยแค่ลงเลยแค่ยาขอหนูให้ข้อ violation เป็นแต่ constitutional right ยังเป็นนะใช้ต่อแต่เป็นมืออีสุกิจใจรู้เนี่ยจนไม่แก่เต้นน่ะหนูไอ้ปูแล้วเขามาปูสู่สุกิจใจน่ะหนูเลยหาจิตทางแล้วเขาจะยังไปยังสังสรรค์ไม่แก่แล้วไปจะยังมุกเกอยังไปยัง protester ก็ peacefully protesting นะไปจะมุกเกอgiờ đó thì cái nhà khổ ý là giờ tôi thì thôi này từ cho cái nhà khổ nó đỡ ta chỉ tao ô tá này giờ bán chỗ thì họ là bây giờ mình thì ta chỉ cho nó mà biết bùn tao hồi nó đỡ bây giờ phong dư cái hồ bây giờ cho cái liệng này rồi tôi phamate tôi ta chỉ làm họ sẽ biết mấy cho mong nhà khổ tôi dù ha bây giờ mình bán chỗ là cho họ chọn để ha so họ nói họ cứ ô cho số lần số xa hình han trai hình nè từ là những cái là nơi tại ID ha lại passport vậy họ nói họ thấy mình ta bé sụt lại những bù cho bé nhớ hôm nay sao ta cho ICE agent nó bố chia tôi bố cho họ lựa bố là tao là ô là sư bố là tao là chọi cho tôi này sư thì họ nói họ cái cú sa ha ô cho từ lúc từ giờ in chạy thành cho này so bé cú sáng cho mấy anh thằng bên gì à ta nhưng mà mấy này mấy bù lát chỉ giờ ta chỉ nói có này cái chỗ có vậy từ cái thấy cho ha có chỉ nhớ cái mình sao ta sẽ có cái tôi mình sao ta hẹn ha có bù ha ta This is a teachable moment. What is that moment? What is the teachable lessons that we can learn? What else do you want to add?
Deportation is not widely understood in the Hmong community. And so I think that when you talk about deportable communities, the felons, the murderers, the rapists, and then everybody, even young Hmong people, agree that that should happen. But as a Hmong person, as somebody who came to this country as refugees, it's extremely important that Hmong people understand the history of deportation of Southeast Asians. As refugees chỉ tồn đóng đợi chị xuân tôi chỉ nâng nhà lịch quay như thế cái gì ở như nó chị giờ thì có trâu chỉ nó chỉ có nhẹ thế chỉ tóm mò bán chúa hoặc chỉ tóm mò citizenship nó chỉ có trâu chỉ mình chỉ nơi có chậm serve có giờ time có chậm mà cơn đấy lò là có tờ là cho chỉ là chờ giờ thì có sao có một lợi tết chờ nữa. So it's really important for young people to understand why is deportation a Hmong issue and why should we be against it. When we came to this country as refugees, our parents didn't have the means and did not become citizens before many of us became of age, and therefore some crimes were deportable. But at that time, as refugees, not having the means and the failed refugee resettlement of our people really tracked our people our ages into the deportation, into the immigration system. In 1996, it's really important for people to understand, IRA became a legislation that basically retroactively said, if you did crimes, even if it was before this legislation, you're deportable. Number one. Number two, and expanded who can be deportable, and that impacted a lot of Southeast Asian folks who did crimes of poverty. When I say crimes of poverty, I'm really talking about Hmong folks who were in gangs, or a lot of Hmong folks who committed like fraud. All of these like crimes that were not deportable before that legislation now became deportable. The reason why we should be, as Hmong people, against deportation of anybody is that because it impacts Southeast Asians, Khmer, Vietnamese, Lao, Hmong folks, because we came to this country because of the American involvement in American war in Southeast Asia. Deportation of anybody is inhumane, but deportations of refugee is inhumane and also cruel, because when you're deported back to these countries, they may or may not accept you, and these are countries that your families fled in the first place. So it's really a teachable moment, because it's not only about the present moment. You're supposed to learn about how we got here and why we're in this situation now.
I want to go back to the 1996 immigration reform. It changed the laws so that misdemeanors became felonies, and so when you have a felony, then it became deportable. And if you all remember, 1996, a gang task force from San Diego to Minnesota, and so many of our young men were picked up. They were accused of a crime, and then they were accused of being in a gang just because they were hanging out with a bunch of young men. And so a little more, I mean, that's another demonstration of racial profiling that's happening right now, that it happened back then too. And so cho tôi lo ha cho mỗi dân sai ha mà tôi lo ha dân sai họ mà bố chính yêu lúc sẽ họ nạt chỉ là chỉ bảo lưu trào bé họ cho cùng hậu là chỉ bảo từ bé cho cái trái họ rong rồi, and then bé cho nhị ha chỉ bảo trả lawyer ha cái này mua cho tôi luôn sai là họ cơ là bên này, and then thầu bố tới lưu rồi bố tôi serve bố cho time ta bố tới lưu cái bố cho lại immediately then transfer over to ICE. They were detained by ICE, and then they went in front of an immigration judge, and then cho lawyers advise cho young people vì ta lúc tết chậm lo họ bố chi tao chạy bên này bố chi chạy cho tôi này thằng nào tới cho nó bố chạy cho tôi này kia sẵn sàng lo chứ nói kia cho young people họ cho lấy sign bố like deportation removal order đó vì là họ ta xin nó bây giờ tôi nhận chạy cái mua bao cho chỉ cho xong rồi phần mà họ nè bố họ cho deport ta xin nó là vì hết ta President Trump 你 put pressure on they can blow 那边啊，只么 visa 只不只么economic investment 只不只不我知道你讲，只不就债是边啊，给啥呢？小诺只不债，被叫蒙ท่那头做哈，不债叫ตัวนึง block 个ตัวได้แค่นู้ตัวย่อ over 不来 visa 哈，只可能เขาคือเจ๋งแต่就是了包呢一叫嘛，跟住又叫路下波去包容下，了也不包了不怎么呀，也不去看不叫哪子了，不看去看不得个不明用下嘅，啲頭嘢叫都知道到咧，下嘅不就樣嚟嘅，哎只都查到波嘅啦，冇波deport 了，but 古生 correct 一下但。เขาจี้จนในเขาช่วงไปเจ้าช่วงน้อยจ่อตัวนี้ก็เจ้า deportation เขา always check in อย่าเป็นอะไรอ่ะอย่าจี check in อีช่วงน้อยเกี่ยวเจ้าลีมัน check in จ้ะเกี่ยวใช้เลยน้อยฮัตตาไอ้สิ่งป้อแต่พวกเขาเชื่อเนี่ยอะไรอย่างไรบ้างนะ so อีมาไปจุดที่ไทยไปอย่างตัวนี้นะน้อยฮัตตา first ปุ๊บตัว serve ปุ๊บ time ละเป็นอะไรก็จะปุ๊บตั้งก็หาอะไรอ่ะเกี่ยวแต่จริงๆอย่างปุ๊บจากคำอยู่ซ้ำมันจะรู้ได้เชื่อ and แต่ฉันน้องไม่จะรัวมากูจะต้องป้อมเมย์แต่ฉันกูป้อมเมย์แต่ปุ๊บจะอยู่บล็อกเต้ปุ๊บอยู่ไทยเต้จากเขาปุ๊บตัวอยู่ที่เกี่ยว refugee camp เกี่ยว for a long time ที่เกี่ยวบล็อกจีกันใจปุ๊บฮะand ไทยละไทยจิตใจฮะจากเขาไปจีตัวนี้ไทยให้ไปตัวอยู่แต่ refugee camp ซึ่งแต่หนูที่ไม่ต้องเป้าแต่ฉันไปสัมปันจีจะ要เราตัดเจก็ไม่ต่อนะโอเคไปจะ deportation order นั้นมาจีจะรัวซะอีจะเราอีมัวฮะนะเกี่ยวเขาหนูที่จะเราฮะจำมัวคันแต่มีตู้มีอยู่แต่ว่าแต่ใช้แต่是รู้เสียก็ไม่ต้องหาสิทางจูไม่เจตัวนี้ก็สุดละเป้าไอ้จิตใจหายไปนะ
It's important that Hmong people understand that deportation of Southeast Asians, this is not new. In the early 2000s, เจทงดานะไปที่ไฮลีนะเจแล้วตัวเจ้าเลยจะคัมเมนแล้ว return เลยจะคัมเมนแต่เราไปตัวปอเราไปยังที่ไฮไปที่ป้าเลยเจจิตาลินแต่เจทงเลยตัวdeport เลยจะยันล่าเราไปที่ไฮไปที่ป้าเลยเจแต่ชนอเจแล้วตัวเดย์ไปเท่าไรเจ้าไปมุงเจทงเดเจยันล่าเท่าเจเราจะคัมเมนเราแต่ it's been going on for a long time so กุศลก็มองเป้าแต่ this is not new what's new ลิกายังไฮ is because เท่าถูกอู้มาถูกละมาทุกสิ่งจะมองละมาทุกสิ่งนะ the reason why many of them signed their final orders of removal is because Laos is a communist country they're never going to take youก็just sign law they're never going to take you so you start believing that because after 20 years and they don't come for you then you think they're never going to come for you so that's why we're in this predicament right now
สาเหตุลุงจีแต่เขาได้เมื่อเรามาเจอตัวต้นนี้คือเจ้า deportation ใช่ไหมนี่เจตัวนี้จริงยศชาติเนี่ยไปนะอย่างนี้มั่วหนาจีคือเราพวกยศชาติเนี่ยมั่ว stroke ไปนะอย่างมั่วเกี่ยยศชาติอย่างนี้มั่วทุกคนปูมีอีปังมีอยู่เราพวกสุดยศชาติตันชอเลย it doesn't impact only that individual it impacts the whole family อย่างวิธีนี้จะกูเขาคือป้าป้าจะ family เนาะป้าป้าตอนเราชงนู่นเลยเหรอ but they need help now too because you know 不要讲讲好个包住叫 mental 和 emotional stress 个 comes with deportation 不 more connection 就叫 legal services 个帮到那边呢哎有的 more 一对 family 个找来喏没至少 try to take on that burden alone 三个没门就叫讲好呢谈哈些些不么子就做咩哈 even 比叫那叫我不知道包住哈也不都去包哈那边呢可能嘛只有妥但是哈就叫那叫我的个至少怎么哈稍微下面有就么就一个好谈一个好帮车哈个叫 policy makers 帮 basement 去哈 Do you want to add anything to that? What are you hearing in your area, the community?
แต่ฉันมาเป็นทับซ้อนให้เดียไอซ์เทียตัว president นมาเลยให้เดียเลยตัวเด็กจนเนี่ยมั่ว criminal record ซึ่งนะแต่ฉันเนี่ยเก๋ๆอยู่บอกแค่เดียมาเลยยังชีเด็กจนมั่ว criminal record อยู่ดูเขาแค่สิเจเลยยังลองเดียอยู่เลยเจถูกมุบอกแค่เดียมาถูกไอซ์ต้นเดย์นึงนะเลยบอกแต่อยู่ย่อนึงเอเชียนโลละนึงเมย์ละนึงข้านึงสมาลีละเลยอย่าละเลยจีลีให้เด็กกูยนเดย์อยู่มั่วก็จะต้องเดินดูไปใช้แต่สิเดียมาเลยตัวจีต่อใช้เดียเลยจีลินเดย์ซะนะเจฝิ่งโตมายันนึงให้เด็กน้องกูยอด citizen กูมั่นต้องเดินยกกูพักเกะนั่นเจเลยหันยาตัวนึงเลยเดียกูจีเค I don't care กูจีเคเลยยิ่งเดย์เทียยิ่งมั่วนึงตอนเดย์มูกันว่าต่อ Whipple Building นะเลยยิ่ง report ตะก้าให้เดียเลยยิ่งมั่วจะเนี่ย sell ไอ้เลย job posting โนให้เดียโอ้เลยยิ่งโพสต์จะน้อยUS citizen แต่สิเลยจีเคเลยยิ่งเดย์ยอขอเจ๊งยอให้เดีย là hai tia lời tuần đề cho nên em một criminal record sư đó là để tia mà lời những đề yêu do hãy nên giờ yêu cho mình cả đó chỉ lời tuần đề yêu lời tua ở chỉ sợ cho bé cho nên nó nè chỉ có sao có nên bảo lên đóแต่ชิโนมาไปปอหัวนูสหายมั่วเอาไปจะสตอรี่จะหายมองรอเลยหายนิ่งแต่ชีเขาเจ๊งยอหรือจีจอดนั่นโตตุ่มมองเห็นนั่นโตเลยหายนิ่งแต่ชีจีโชว์ตัวของ Facebook รอจีว่าตัวหัวนูสนะเขาเจ๊งยอเลยยิ่งรอ target ไปจนนิ่งไปจนมองไปจนเลยหายนิ่งดูโฮเทียเจถอยมุกแก้วโฮสตรีทมาอยู่ปอกแก้วเดี๋ยวอยู่ขโมยเตี้ยมาเดี๋ยวยิ่งเขาเจ๊ง
I just want to reiterate that they are targeting us as a community, but we're not being covered by mainstream news or national news, and so Joua Lee cứ bị invisible là, 但是個但mà bố nhìn chọn bị chỉ trong hình này là bố tôi khó trong cho lâu cho lộ khi khó trong cho lên cho tôi nên cứ mong này là chỉ muốn đau muốn đợi là cho lấy cho lại là ha cho cứ muốn remove order là cho mong này là ha chỉ ra nói cho mình nhiều của chỗ lăng chỉ ha chỉ một tôi nên bao bố ha mua strategize cho bố tại Joua Lee chẳng bên nào right
thôi lo cover mà lo cover lo hay nên sao lo chỉ cover mong thôi lo cover mong mà tia li bé bỏ tu giờ tia giống li đông đề lo tu nữ tới nữ chế nữ hạt t-shirt gò xin á thằng đó mà lo report lo in chỉ hạt tiền hiếm mong nè lo cho hạt tiền Asian gò sư in đã giờ lo tung kinh lo chỉ cả lo chỉ sa explain hạt tiền mong giờ lên từ nè giờ in đã nhận được cú sa mà lo chỉ sa cái nên bỏ thì là tôn tiền mong việc có do nên cỡ biết có history hay mong như lên từ cỡ thì mong như ba mi cả thổ chỉ tuổi to na chị nên hiểu chỉ trong sẽ còn đỡ thế chị ôn lên đó chị do nên chỉ bỏ hay thì lỡ tôi target mong nó chị lỡ chỉ bỏ thì mong đi ba chị lỡ chỉ sa resource lỡ chỉ tôi ba bé nó chị còn nói ít tính mình lo na bé chỉ tôi chị nên bỏ hay thì lỡ chỉ rõ đó bé nên thế lỡ tôi thế bỏ thì bé ní lỡ ba
We need to amplify that because cho cô họ cứ bang mông ha bang bê sinh cứ Southeast Asian cho phân rồi những chỉ bảo là impact bên chẳng là bên nào vì we're not in the news right but that's a really good example that's only score thôi after bốn day nữa bên nào or even before that thầu cứ bê protest hi hẹn nhớ cho mình sẽ làm bên nào bố cho nên mua ít cho luôn là bên nào cho hạt cho cái bốn thì tao mình này tu nô nhưng mà này tao khó pay lên nó na bên na but we know some of those individuals but to serve book hard time na bên why do you think they post this kind of propaganda or false narrative
because they made a mistake and lo tsotsu their tactic was to scare everybody lo có nên trai có nên bay sinh trai có nên cho một tờ nên cho một ba chị lỡ ô sầu thế lỡ chỉ do là chị lỡ chị đa thì chỉ bé tuần đây tụi nó bé really bé tuần đây tụi nó đó chỉ tụi nó người tôi want người tôi serve người khó chỉ hỏi ta thế người tôi chỉ lỡ thì ít tụi nó chơi nhớ ta qua so it was they made a mistake and they wanted to hide that mistake and then they wanted to blame our community further and then chỉ một cái moment chỉ đã cả repost your photos thế chỉ đã cả re-traumatize bé thế chỉ đã cả blame lỡ thế hiểu lỡ sầu lúa chỉ lý cha lúa tới mù trâu chỉ ta lúa tới tờ lúa tới mù nên trong lý cha là yếu chỉ bảo chỉ là tôi là hai chị lên đó chị re-traumatizes and adds on to call hate thì tỷ cho mong là tới ôm bầu lý nó bị Minnesota và họ chân chính thì cho phần đầu mua cho final orders nó ở Southeast Asia tới chỉ nhau hôm Minnesota nó nè chị thế chỉ ta lên đó lý cái những hai này lấy em bảo lúc chị tới giờ tụm năng từ thế cho năng với final orders nó lúa tới một check and then day rồi call lên chúa hai nè chân chính thì mà thầu của tôi bên nó cũng bỏ mà nên bỏ hồ newspaper mà cho li you know ice mà nè on bảo li nó tao nó một thiệt tao nó cho li là bảo they know what they're doing they do actually know what they're doing là sao chứ cause chaos còn nên chia họ to đó chỉ là nên nó mù là bảo là tới một trời cho mong lúc tới cho bữa trước tụi mong in the middle of the night in the middle of the day lúc tới cho bữa trước tụi mù là nên tới chỉ bảo cho họ tên we're so busy watching the chaos over here but là trời bây giờ family là những bố bây giờ chế trong nhà là bố này cho phone number trong nhà cho họ cho nên một final orders nó nè lúc từ nên new mùng report in for the last 20-30 years cho họ they want to be good citizens and they have families
they follow the law
yeah they are following the laws the other thing that I've been hearing Hmong people say is like đó có mùng lo tế ở chỗ cha cho họ thì mà giờ có mỗi ngày có nhớ tao it is inhumane cái ấy tụi nàng cái chuyện nàng nhớ tụi nó nè ấy nên cho mua xí tí nè nên mua xí nên mua mình tụi mình tí rồi nên mua cái tí nên trả tí nè the majority of cho age nè chỉ mua lần tụi nhớ tí lì nè ấy cái mua nhớ ấy tại sao bị bỏ lại thầu này không muốn nó mà cho trong xe mua tại vì nhớ trên cái lì nên nó giàu chỉ mua lần tụi the other reason why this is a feminist issue is that thầu này sai lắm một tí nè cho lời cho families thì nó là xuân tôi cho nè cho aunties, the grandmothers, the wives, the daughters bây giờ cho nên nó xa nhẹ lo nè sau khi nó nhớ có tên mình để tàn thôi dễ rồi cho tao sai hiểu chỉ dùng lý này hay để sao cho các một chuyện muốn nhớ chỉ dùng cho họ chỉ cho nhẹ you know the other thing is stop re-traumatizing and stop reposting photos of people with convictions lo thế rồi lo thế sao lo có time tại vì chỉ bảo nè
The majority of the folks that DHS has been posting, but to serve your time, they are contributing citizens and they are working, paying taxes, and supporting their families. Many of them have not reoffended, and if they're reoffended, they're locked up again. So when they say that they're trying to take these murderers and sexual abusers off of our streets, well, they've been off the streets, but they've been rehabilitated by the system that we're supposed to be in anyways, right? So
the other thing I was going to say is bây giờ Hmong nè we should be against deportation of anybody. As refugees, what it means to be taken in the middle of the night, what it means to disappear, what it means to survive war. We are against any family. Overstayers law, we're against deportation. Undocumented law, we're against deportation of them because the act of deportation is pretty violent.
When they post this, illegal, we don't care. People who are human beings are not illegal, and many of bigger refugees, we go through a very comprehensive background check before we even enter this country, and so to say that is not correct. And bigger Mongchisa regurgitate very divisive, criminalize to king right?
Kusa hai tia ko expertise in your media na je kusa kuning to hai tia tho lu White House no na lo cho do hai tia open to criminal Hmong no lo cho zu o kuning should sa hai tia o Hmong yin yo violent ning tan Hmong yin jong li no le o yo criminal lo cho zu o li no kuning po Hmong e lo sa tia o Hmong yin yo ning pe yo li ka chin de lo should sa lo should mu no je tho be đó share lo cho nên đó đó hay tia ô chọn món nó phải to lo tuần đầy lờ đó chỉ tới tiền lo tuần đầy biết sợ đời chè thôi lo xa cho đó để tới đó mika nhớ tới cho mika bỏ cái nó lo chó chịu ô còn ninh sai tia ô tàn thon ninh mong tàn thon ninh Somali tàn thon ninh mẹ yo ninh phe yo ninh tu sa lo to ninh lo tê lì hàm đời nó đó chỉ có chính lo do lo chó chịu ô còn ninh sai tia bị hay ninh mong ninh sợ đời trong ninh đời do thầu bé chỉ linh chinh rồi bé chỉ lịch sử chọn đoán được thế nào chị bé học ba rồi ở cho sở được xã thì bé nên phải thế chị tên đấy do lịch sáu chữ nữa chỉ học tiền rồi lại tiền ô bé tuân theo cho nó sửa do lịch sáu chữ còn nên xã thì tàn thầu bé hay nên trong nên đó chị cho nó lời more holy propaganda chị lịch sáu chữ lên đó có nên xã hay tiền tàn thầu nên đủ hỏi nhưng nên phải nó có thầu lo chỉ rõ thầu bé hay nên lo có nên mình cả đó chỉ cho ba bé chỉ cho đi chợ tới thì cho nên nhớ họ Minnesota nó nói yên bố mong tiền mong cho nên rong mong đâu giờ rong cho tới cho mình cả nó chọn đỡ mà bố bé tiêm mà yên sa ba bé sa đi thái bé đó thì lựa chọn chỉ bố bé nó bỏ cho đoán được sẽ chỉ lấy sa tới bé nên phải
mình nhớ xong cho mình số tài tôi hiện chỉ bông bông mà đó thì mình tôi nên cứ nhớ hôm mình sai bữa sau bông bông cho họ bên mông trông hình này nó but outside of Minnesota tôi hiện chỉ bông bông nữa cái what they see is going to be the stereotype you know that bo mo lu cho pe na and ya bo tu la ta tan cho Somali ma ne more corruption ya fraud na ke pe ke bo ha ya stereotype ta la ha ya so khanu ha ke da pe mong ju ta ka ti lu mong lu xia na lu ke mong nya ta pe si lu na ke ya lu xia na no it's a me chi agree ju pe la tha me bang ha cho eventually it's going to help you because ya to ne ke ai stone de no po chi no me ta me pe ba ma ga la ji ya they look at your face and they're going to just profile you. So เขาโน้ยชุดเรายี่วอร์เมแต่ชุดกูจะการวอร์เมอีจ้าแต่ they don't care they're not gonna ask you if you voted for Trump or not they're just gonna target you because you look like a foreigner in their eyes เป็นอะไร so เขาโน้ยเขาก็เป็นชายเวียแต่you just more equal criminal record like you in China they don't care they're not gonna ask you right and to Zhong Li is a perfect example ปนเดนิโมนี่จิโม criminal record แต่ปนตัวมันนี่รุ่นจิโมจ่อจมลาเตปูปนนี่ตัวปนตัวอะไรนี่ฮะ they embarrassed him เป็นนะ and so โอจ่อเป็นมองสุดเลยมองชาจนหนึ่งฮะปัจจัยคือจิตเอามวน news coverage ละพวกมันยกจะ detention center ก็จอ condition is very terrible นะปะนะ and so we do not wish this on any one of you even if you don't agree with our values ปะนะ
到对应係啲要寧應法律老師呢，就係是他了，個真要應全寧應法律老應都去做的呢，啲古啥啲都係都保啲嘛。ice ตัวเมนูสุดท้ายจะลาเราเลยยิ่งอยากจะเนี่ยสนใจนะเจแล้วก็เนี่ยเราจะให้เรายิ่งจีฟ้าหลุดเตี้ยเจมันโดตัวยิ่งหายตัวเลยเตี้ยเนี่ยว่าลีน้อยเนี่ยว่าจีจะเนี่ยเห็นโทเลยเนี่ยว่าสนใจเลยเตี้ยยิ่งไม่ตัว judge เราใช้เลยจนเนี่ยเคสยิ่งหายเตี้ยมั่วจ่อเจอเตยเขาเคสเราสนใจเลยเตี้ยand 主要เอาไปอาทิตย์要รู้อีหลินดูนอสนะเจอยู่ชัวมูเจยิ่ง有望到差มั่วยิ่ง有望อีปวดเถอะขอแค่ใส่หลอดสนใจเลยในผีหลอดตัวเน่งจีย่อเลยจีปูเน่งมั่วแล้วก็ใน court case prove ว่าเดี๋ยวเลยยิ่งย่อเน่งเสร็จแล้วจะเดี๋ยวเลยจีมั่ว criminal record เลยยี่ลีซ้ำมั่วตัว Texas อยู่ซ้ำมั่วจะได้เจอแล้วนะเจยิ่งมั่วตัวก็ case จะ judge แต่จะ judge น้อยยิ่งจะ judge support Trump นั่นน่ะจะน้อยจะยิ่งย้อนเดี๋ยวนู้ช้าใส่เลยแต่สิเลยยิ่งปอกเกียร์เที่ยเดียโอ้ไอซ์ว่ามาว่าเห็นโทษเลยยิ่งสนใจเลยเที่ยใจเลยย่อจะเนี่ยสนใจย่อโหมินนิโซตาเนาะ
so I want to say that because so much of our rights are violated ACLU 喺度講好呢個講好呢不過依個 form very easy form and we'll put it up for you to fill out so that you can describe your interactions with ICE and how your rights have been violated for example อย่าพูดตอนเดมเมนะตัวเขาไม่ขอจงพูดจิมดlike judicial warrant you should list that there อย่าพูดมั่วไม่จงมั่วจอกันละไม่ต้องเช่าละฮะ because ACLU is compiling your complaints and they will eventually sue the U.S. government or this administration for it. To Attorney General Keith Ellison also has a form as well too, and we'll put it up on the screen. To report to China, you have to report these violations so that who complain about your rights were trampled like we also have a 1-800 number you make you feel comfortable or your form hala me who to be to 800 number apply be mo cho cho no hai me who to 800 number ha me who to ke mo itu to ni chai mo ka lu ha ke be le chai lu cho ya to ni ha lu blo ha lu nya lang lu mong lo chi la ka la ha lu cho ha ke we will call you back and provide some support in that way